Kalimera, kalispera, kalinikta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It is back and back by popular demand. The only channel doing, I believe, a goalkeeper show. So we're going to get stuck into it with two very special guests ahead of another massive weekend in the Premier League. Let's rock and roll, squaddies.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, everyone. We are back. I'm back with a bang with one of my favorite shows that I've missed. But before I introduce our special guests, squaddies, good evening. Taking on the baton for Super Kev. And I have some fantastic news. Super Kev is back home. And this is huge. So I know all of you guys have been sending messages and love. And as I've said to you, he's been reading every single one of them. And it has helped spur him on and keep him positive the way he spurs you guys on and keeps you positive too. So brilliant news. And hopefully he'll be back soon at Squad Central as well. So excited for that. Everyone's here. Seb is here. Lynn is here. Newman is here, giving Casey a 10 out of 10. It's usually a 1 out of 10. He does have a heart after all, people. Unbelievable. Runs with cows. PW Galispera. Lynn, hope you're feeling better. Welcome back. Archangel from down under. Oof. You're up late or early. I don't know. I don't know where in the world I am anymore. So welcome, Archangel, regardless. Ian is here. Demsek is here. Trev is here. The whole Squaddy Nation is here. Guna Works as well. Thanks, everyone, for joining. For those listening on audio, thank you for joining us. And for those listening on replay, because some of you might be watching the football. There is a game tonight in the Championship. And also it's Friday night in England, so some of you might be out having a drinky poo. And for those on the East or West Coast, you might still be at work. So, you know, that's a shame, but here we are anyway. Welcome back, Michael Price from You Are My Arsenal.
How are you, Soch? Good to see you again.
Right. Yeah, good to see you too. I'm excited for you to get stuck into this with one of our show favourites. Of course, he's back. Ex-Luton Town manager and former Brentford player. Some of you squaddies don't know this, but Paul did play for Brentford back in the day. He even faced Super Kev in a Youth Cup match, I believe. Back to Squad Central, Paul Buckle. Yes!
Hi, Simon. Hi, Mike. Sorry, squaddies. I apologise for the badge. Honestly, I do. But
what? You know what? I was going to put my 71 double winning. Actually, I was going to put my 79 FA Cup special sweatshirt on. But, Mr. Buckle, I don't like wearing gear the day we play or the day before. Call it nonsense. Call it nonsense. But, well, actually, as a manager, were you superstitious like that?
No, not really. No, no, I didn't. No, I had to try hard with my dress sense in front of the players. You know, that's the one thing they look at every time. You know, a lot of managers keep the same suit, don't they? The same tie, you know. But no, I never was superstitious.
What about you, Mike, with your college teams and your girls' team now? Any superstitious?
No, it's just to be comfortable on the sideline. I don't know that we're as formal as some coaches, some of the managers I've seen over in England, but I just like to be comfortable on the sideline.
Yeah, it's so funny how, I really should get over it because I've had this since 2006, since the Champions League final. And a lot has happened since then, but I've kept it up. So maybe I should start wearing my shirt. If I start wearing my shirt, maybe we'll win the league. Anyway, let's get stuck in, shall we? I love hearing managers and coaches talk about goalkeepers because to me, other than the quarterback in the NFL, I think it's I don't know if it's the most important position in sports, but it's definitely one of the most high pressure positions in sports. And at the start of the season, Mikel Arteta made a massive decision, which I wasn't particularly happy with at the time, not necessarily because of the choice, but perhaps in the manner in which the choice was made to make David Raya his number one. He actually didn't make him his number one. He said, I've got two goalkeepers, and he talked about subbing at half time. And I think he made a bit of a hash of it, which is why fans weren't particularly happy. I think if he'd have just communicated a little bit more clearly, that would have been a lot different. So let's get stuck in. And so Mike, it's been a while since we've had a chat about the goalkeeping position. I'm going to start at the very top before we get stuck into some numbers and the style of play. Do you think, as an Arsenal fan, that David Raya deserves his Arsenal flowers right now?
Oh, absolutely. You can't. I don't think you can take anything away from his performances of late. Even so, what is it? Over the last 7 games, it's been 3 goals conceded. I think he's just been just as instrumental to the attack and the way that he's used in the team. That, yeah, he deserves every bit of praise he's getting. But then, look, and we've talked about this before. I just view the goalkeeper, and I know we're going to talk a little bit about the goalkeeper in the context of the modern game. But to me, the goalkeeper now is just a natural extension. I know people call it the back four. I call it, when I'm coaching even my young teams, it's a back 5, back 6 when you take the 6 into consideration, because they're all supposed to work together as a unit when we're off the ball, right? And so, yeah, I think he absolutely deserves the praise he's getting. And I don't think that right now, you can't make that. Now we're going to make the swap this weekend simply because of the loan rule and not playing against your home team. But I don't think there's any other reason why you would pull him out of the net right now.
Paul, and I'm not suggesting that at all, by the way. Paul, from a manager point of view, you've got a goalkeeper who's super hot right now. And at the same time, the defense has been incredible. And I'm not taking David Raya's flowers away, but let me just get rid of this banner real quick. 16 plus shots faced. This was last week's stat from Sky. That's unbelievable, by the way. And the defense, surely, Paul, has a lot to do with that. I think Raya deserves his flowers. The defense, the Great Wall of Arsenal, has just been incredible. When you look at David Raya's stats for this season, he's played 22 games. He's conceded 19 goals. He's got 9 clean sheets. He's got a 63% save percentage, 0.86 conceded. That's 19 goals in 22 games, 41% clean sheets. He's got a 6.86 average rating in the Premier League. What's your take, Paul, on that front?
Wow, there's some unbelievable stats. Great stuff. Yeah, you can't go away from the 2 centre-backs, Sophie, from that are in front of him. Gabriel and Saliba. If anything's going to come through from the front to the midfield and get to the Arsenal pack line, you're going to do very well to go through those two. And, that's the most important part of the team, and the spine of the team, the goalkeeper, centre-half, central midfielder they've got in Rice. I think they're doing an incredible job in front of him. But, and Mike will know this, a key part, Sophie, for the goalkeeper is staying in the game when you're not in the game. That focus, that concentration level when you've not seen the ball, right? Arsenal have had hold of the ball for a long time in games, really kept the ball. And so, when he's called upon, it's going to be a bit more difficult than the goalkeepers that are in the game. And, I would imagine. I mean, I would always be, if my teams were attacking and we had sustained pressure, I'd always be saying to my goalie coach, make sure, Pokey or Bebs, whoever it was in goal, are ready. They're starting positions. So I think that's a key part when you're in a top team like Arsenal are, that you're ready when called upon. And so it's double pressure. But it's going to help having that type of defensive unit with Rice in front for sure. And I think that will really help Aaron Ramsdale when he comes back into the team.
It's I just want to stick with you for a second here, Paul, and even at that college level as well, Mike. How when you've been that cold competitively, you know, Mikel in his press conference today talked about how Ramsdale's ready. He's been training really well. It's amazing to have two goalkeepers. Obviously, he's positive and rightly so. Ramsdale's really put his head down, just got on with things, shut down any talk or all the talk. How is that for him? Is he just coming in like, okay, great, I'm getting my chance? I'm nervous for him as a fan. And we've been doing so well. I just keep my fingers crossed that there's no mistakes tomorrow. As a manager, what are you saying to Ramsdale right now? And how do you see that coming in cold?
Well, I take the way you're feeling. I don't think you should have any worries at all, because he's well liked, and he's not out of the team through his bad performances. He's out of the team because the manager has chose to go with two top-class goalkeepers, right? And he believes to win trophies, he's going to need that, okay? And he did say at the start of the season it was going to rotate, but sometimes it just doesn't work out like that. But I think with goalkeepers, there's a respect, the goalkeepers union that Mike's a member of. I think that you know, everyone will be wanting him to do well. Raya will be wanting him to do well. You know, you think about all the training sessions, Sophie, that's gone on where he's been supporting Raya, right? Knowing that he's not going to play at the weekend. I think the players love him, the fans love him, okay? And I think he's coming into a team that's in banging form. So I think he's going to be absolutely fine.
Mike?
Look, I think, I don't disagree with anything that was said there. I mean, if anything, maybe it's if there were any nerves or any kind of feeling, maybe the manager is telling him to just start off. Just, you know, for me, if I have somebody that's coming into a situation like that, it's just make the first save. Just make that first save. Once you make that first save, it's all going to just, you know, come in for you. But I think if you're going to say anything to him, it's just keep it simple to start. But I think Ramsdale is by all accounts, he's a professional behind the scenes. He's training really hard. So, you know, and looking at the trainings are game day situations. So he's going to be ready coming in tomorrow. And I think I agree with Paul. What's happening in front of him right now is just so good that I think at this level right now, we could probably put David Ospina back in goal. And, he'd look great back there. But no, I don't think it's going to be much of a problem tomorrow. I don't think Ramsdale will be ready to go. He'll be ready to show that he can still play, and the team will want to actually perform in front of him, because I know, as Paul said, he's by all accounts, he's well liked in front of the squad with the whole team.
Okay, so you guys are talking a lot about the defense, and I wanted to keep on that for just a minute, and I'm going to read this from an article from Yahoo Sports. Pressing from the front requires 11 players to be fully invested in the strategy, also requires the defense to push high up the pitch, closing the space in the opposition half. In 2024, Arsenal's defense line has been the highest in the division. Their average starting distance from their own goal has been 46.3 meters. Liverpool have been the second highest on 45.5 meters. To someone like me, Paul, who is not as great as tactics, what does that mean?
Well, it means when you're pressing high, that the back line comes right up. Okay, you leave space in behind. Okay, and you really do squash the game into that half of the field. Okay, it means everybody's ready to step, and it does leave a lot of space behind where the keeper becomes keeper sweeper, right? The goalkeeper then comes into play, and again the concentration levels that are needed, the starting positions that are needed, right? When you're looking at Arsenal moving the ball left to right, back into the middle, but you know the goalkeeper has to, in my professional opinion, move with that, right, and be ready, because if any teams are probably going to get anything out of an Arsenal or a top team, it's going to be on a counter attack. It's going to be, they're going to wait for a couple of moments in the game and spring it. And I think I was about to say Brentford will do that tomorrow. Yeah, sorry again. You know, and try and break, right? Because you're going to have to be solid. They're going to have a load of the ball, but at any given moment, it's not just that back players. Because Arsenal are brave, Arteta's brave. There'll be 1-for-1 at the back. They won't worry about that. But that's what it means. It means you're pressing high, you're up the field. We're seeing it with Tottenham as well. It's a real modern way of playing. Goalkeepers got to be absolutely ready for anything, you know, that comes into that area. There is a big space that's left behind.
Mike, just to riff off what Paul's saying, I don't know. It's my least favorite new buzz stat, right? But since returning from Dubai, Arsenal's expected goals, XG as the kids these days like to call it, a measure of the quality of the chances they're allowing their opponents, okay, is what Yahoo is saying, is just 1.88 or 0.31 per game. Prior to this weekend, that was the last. The next best defensive team in the league in 2024 has been Manchester City, who have an expected goals against figure of 6.83 or 0.98. What do you think about this XG stat? But also, what does that tell you about how David Raya's 9 clean sheets are benefiting from not only the defense, but maybe where it starts is the midfield?
Let's go back to something that Arsene Wenger used to say. Arsene Wenger was never a big fan of individual awards for players because he firmly believed in the team concept of what was on the field. What these stats tell to me is and you use both Arsenal and Manchester City as the examples there. What are they both very good at? They're both very good at keeping the ball. And I think coming back from Dubai, the one thing I haven't seen a lot of that I saw prior to the Dubai trip, pre-Dubai, I felt we were very careless with the ball at times. I felt that even in the midfield, we'd make blind passes and not really connect. Even the short distance passes that, you know, that's a trademark of this, the way we want to play, we're not coming off, we're not taken with care, and we'd lose the ball and turn over the ball, create shots and chances on goal. That's not happening since the Dubai trip. I don't see that happening. I don't see carelessness with the ball, and I think the ability to retain the ball by the team, and that's through all phases of play, whether you were playing out through the back and going up forward to the final third, we're doing a very good job of maintaining the ball, and that's helping us create the chances and open up the space to attack the opposition. I think that is a big trademark of that XGA that you're talking about is Arsenal's ability to keep the ball, something Manchester City does very well as well. No wonder they're both 1 and 2 in that respect, right? But then also, I think with the other thing that's really good about Arsenal has actually been really good all year long, and probably for the last 2 years, is Arsenal's transition play, going from attack to defense. You don't, again, I'm going to go back to Wenger and even the Emery time frame. You did not see 10 field players getting behind the ball with any kind of urgency and speed, especially, but you see that commitment from Arteta's team, and therefore they're getting into shape. They're denying space to move, and they're really not. They're keeping everything mostly out in front of them, out wide, and therefore it's, then you're relying on Raya to take out the crosses, which is something that he is very, very strong at. And I just think that it is that stat is indicative of an entire team effort rather than any one individual.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because one of the stats that is all the Arsenal fans are pointing to, Paul, is how many catches in the box Raya is making. With that same token, Ramsdale's definitely been more of a puncher. As a manager, firstly, do you prefer your goalie to catch or punch, or it's the moment, of course? And secondly, does that tell you that Raya has a more commanding presence in the box versus Ramsdale, who does that indicate punching is more panicking? What's your take on that as a manager?
Well, first of all, there's nothing between them, right, as a rule. If you look at the two goalkeepers, speaking, so my connections with Brentford, speaking to Marcus Gale as I did, right, I said, come on, tell me about David Raya, tell me. He said, Bucks, his speed of play is so good. Like he can collect the ball and start the attack really quickly. I mean, Arsenal are breaking teams down so far, they've got 11 behind the ball. And I agree with Mike, they're keeping the ball well. So if you've got the goalkeeper that can spring the counter-attacks, that's going to be crucial against the big teams as well, right? When it's going back and forth, like the big teams are going to go at it, right? That speed of play is crucial. In terms of catching it and punching it, that's the goalie's decision. I mean, I actually think if we get a set play tomorrow, we can put Raya under pressure. Okay, I see that. But if Ramsdale's in goal, I think he's better. But in the open play when the balls are coming in, I think Raya is looking to come and collect. I think that's a plus. That's a modern day goalkeeper thing. And then he's got the ability. His short and long range passing is phenomenal. You know, we Brentford benefited from that with hitting Ivan Toney with accuracy. Marcus said to me, Paul, we can ping a ball, you know, waist high over a big distance. Now that if you're a player, if you're a fullback or you're a striker, getting that pass appreciation from that distance is crucial because it gives the defenders no recovery time, right? Literally put it on a sixpence is what he was saying. And also, I said, what's his character like? You know, come on, Marcus, you know, you're there around the training ground. He said, his character is unbelievable. Where he makes a mistake, he can recover, right? So that's, as a professional athlete, especially in football and in goal, you make him, and I think he's done that. I think if you look at Raya, the jury was out, right? The spotlight was on him for a bit, but he's recovered and the noise has gone away. And he's brave, and that bravery comes. We see it with the playing well with the feet. Marcus said he could be a holding midfielder.
That's some interesting insights from, and I know when you're in the UK, you're at Brentford all the time. You know the club really well. And we had Natalie Sawyer on last night as well, talking about, you know, David Raya and the calmness and what he brings to the table. And before I want to address Lynn's point with you, Mike, in last season, David Raya had played 38 games, conceded 41 goals, had 12 clean sheets. His save percentage was 77%. And his average rating in the Premier League was 7.17%. And he's not in goal tomorrow because of the loan, and Ramsdale will be playing. And Mike, Lynn says, I have concerns that if Toney plays tomorrow, there was this suspicion of maybe Ivan Toney having taken a knock. I think it was post the Chelsea game. Ramsdale will be our weakest link and he will try and fluster Ramsdale. Toney can definitely be a threat. What's your take?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm wondering, are they thinking that he's going to try and put a body on him? Because the reality is that, you know, you're going to have players within the box that are going to try and, you know, deny that ability to get in front of Ramsdale. But Ramsdale's also, you know, look, one of the things that I like about Ramsdale, I love the presence that he brings to the box. It's not a calm, like, laid back, but there's an energy to his play that I've always liked. And one of the reasons why I always liked him back there, and yeah, it was part of it was how he got along with it, but that positivity, that energy translates to the players in front of him. And I think he's not going to, I don't think he's going to be easily flustered. And I don't think that he is a player that is easily flustered. And to the point that Paul made, he's also a player that when he's made mistakes in a game, and this is actually a very important quality. And Sophie, we've talked about the intangibles before in goalkeeping. One of the things you always look for when you're evaluating, and when I started evaluating goalkeepers at a very young age, is I'm looking for a player that if the ball goes into the back of the net, they're not sitting there pounding the ground for minutes on end, yelling at themselves. I'm looking for somebody who can get right back up and get right back into the game. And I think that is definitely a Ramsdale. I think Raya as well. But I don't think he's going to be as easily flustered. And frankly, I'm not so sure that Toney, outside of set pieces, I don't know that Toney's going to get much of a sniff inside the box. We just have not been letting teams. like one of the other stats that I think that was out there is the amount of chances we are not conceding inside the 18-yard line, right? So I don't know that he's going to find that much time unless we somehow break down on the counter, you know?
Yeah, some folks think that his stats are inflated because he scored a lot of penalties, but you still have to kind of put the ball in the you still have to convert them.
Right.
You talk about presence, and Paul, one of the things that Arsenal fans I fell in love with, and I talked on the show again last night with Natalie a little bit about this, was how our culture was so broken. And it was the transfer window when Benjamin White came in, Tomiyasu, Ramsdale, that helped kind of recreate this Arsenal 2.0. So much was on Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe's shoulders for like 2 seasons. The young Highlanders carrying this team. And then the adults kind of came in, but their DNA and their profile was so different. And there were moments, I think, for Ramsdale. Yes, the mistake against Southampton, Newcastle. There's other mistakes that you can point to, but the game against Liverpool, the double save. There was this incredible save in the second half when it was 3-2. I believe that was the scoreline, Mike, against Spurs. He made this incredible save, tipped it over the bar. Of course, he announced his arrival with this save against Leicester, which is unreal. A lot of Arsenal fans still respect Ramsdale for his shot stopping, but one of the obsessions in the modern game is the goalkeeper and his feet and having the ability to play out. And you talked about the ability that Raya that he's done that and done that seamlessly, not only at Brentford, but he's been doing it at the Arsenal. I would like to add that his arm is insane and his throws out are also, he deserves credit for that too. Sometimes I see teams play like this and I'm like, what are you doing? You don't have the talent to do it. Arsenal certainly do. How do you feel about this evolution in football? A lot of people say it started with Pep. I mean, you could even say it started back, with Cruyff. What's your take on the goalkeeper and the feet situation? And does that diminish Ramsdale's talent because, he's a better shot stopper, for example?
Well, the game has definitely changed, and 100% Pep has been the driver of that, the driving force in that. It's come in all levels of football, and it's for the better. I think for the paying public, the supporter, it's easy on the eye, right? But you do have to have the players to do it. If you're going to play from the back, you're still right by your own goal. So, Arteta is never going to change. He's never. So in a way, Raya's only going to get better. He's going to get the touches on the ball. They're going to use him. They're going to try and make one of the strikers jump onto him, and they'll play round. And now they've got bigger numbers than the opposition. So it's huge all over. But I think it's dangerous doing it when you haven't got the players. And I think that again, looking at the big games, if this continues in this 3-horse race, it's going to come down to really fine details, and you'll have every team there that like to high press as a rule, right? To step onto you. So it might be the difference that you've got a goalkeeper distribution when, say, City are really pressed up on Arsenal, that he can go and find a striker, an 8, a 7 in a pocket that just gets you in 1v1 situations. So I think the modern game, everyone thought it was short with Pep, but then you saw them change the last few seasons. They would go really long with it. That was then that was then a big route to goal for them. Yeah. So it wasn't, it's always about keeping the opposition guessing. At the highest level, it's the details. We're going to go short, we're going to go long. And certainly having your goalkeeper that can play now, if that's going to be your chosen style of play as a coach, manager, you're probably going to need the goalkeeper, because if the opposition knows that's your identity, they've got a big decision to make. Whether they're going to step onto you and maybe you expose them with a longer ball, or they're going to drop off of you and you're going to wear them out with the ball. But one thing I would say, and I wanted to remember this, was Marcus said that, when Raya was there, because they asked, Brentford came out here, and as you know, Raya kindly gave Ted his gloves. He was a great guy, really nice. He looked totally calm in that moment where wasn't sure he was going, very settled. And, Marcus said to me, Paul, I didn't know where he was going to go. He said there was this talk that he's going, and he can only go to the big clubs. Where? So Ramsdale comes into that. And Marcus is the top season player, right? Played Premier League. And he was even thinking, well, he's not going to go Arsenal. He's got Ramsdale. So, going back to that is interesting as to they really have got two top goalkeepers. And the way they're playing, it's going to be very difficult for any team, let alone Brentford, to get a sight of goal.
What are you doing, Ethan? What Ethan Hunt over there on your keyboard? 200 of you in live chat. Brilliant stuff from Paul Buckle here, ex-Luton Town manager, former Brentford player. We're going to get onto the game at the very end. If you have any questions you'd like to lob in, we'll do some quickies at the end. And Mike from UI My Arsenal as well, one of the first ever bloggers, along with Arsblog, who started talking about the Gunners online. And he's got a great community and he's been doing some great things at college level. And also on this International Women's Day, I want to give a shout out to your girls team as well. Shout out to all the amazing women out there, including my girl, Rebecca Lowe, and Natalie Sawyer came on last night. So many women in broadcasting that I look up to. And just wanted to give a shout out to the Arsenal women as well, who've got some really massive games coming up. I thought I had the picture up here, Mike, but I don't. And I'm really bummed because there was that incredible save that David Raya made. Was it against Manchester City where Ramsdale started clapping and he got crap from Jamie Carragher and everyone? It was an incredible save. And he had a really dodgy game up to that part. But all in all, do you think Mikel Arteta has made the right decision?
I think Mikel Arteta has made the right decision for his style of play and the way he wants the team to play. I don't necessarily believe that Ramsdale is bad with his feet. I just think that Raya is better, right? And you heard Ramsdale in that interview a few months ago talk about that. There's some things that he's just not comfortable with, and that's okay. He plays to his strengths, right? You have to say that right now this team, you'd have to say that right now his decision has paid off. It's worked well. The things that you see, the comparatives, so one of the things I was looking at some of the data, we talk about that Leicester save for Ramsdale. Well, one of the things that Ramsdale's really good at is those really hard to get saves. He's actually less effective in the more routine saves where Raya is. And Raya, conversely, is not as strong on the big saves like this, right? But I think overall with how the team wants to play, you'd have to argue, you can't argue with the decision right now. I mean, Raya is the leader for the Golden Glove and the team is leading the league in clean sheets and everything seems settled on the pitch right now. And that's important. And Arteta has shown that he's a manager who isn't going to change much if he thinks that what he has is settled. And so I would say that right now, it looks like the smart move. And Sophie, I think we talked at the beginning of the season, and I was in the same boat you were. I loved Ramsdale. I didn't think he had done anything.
I still love him. I still do love him.
I don't think he had done anything to not play, to earn his spot. He's just a different goalkeeper, and there are different things. Like, I feel that if you're going to have Ramsdale in goal, then you might want to actually switch things up to be a little bit more direct. That doesn't mean that you take out you're playing out of the back game. It means that you, because of the way where he likes to be comfortable, use him to distribute, because he's got the ability to put that ball long and wide out to a running Martinelli, which we've seen before. Right, his first season here after he replaced Leno, there were a lot of us just absolutely amazed at some of the way that he could get that ball out of the back. I don't think it's as quick as Ray. I think Lynn was talking about that. He's not as quick in that distribution especially with his feet. His hands are amazing, but he can still put that ball in a place, pinpoint it into a place. Maybe not like on a dime like Raya can, but he can still do it, and he's done it. So I never believed that Ramsdale was replaced for any bad reason. It was just that Arteta has a way he wants to play, and he's going to bring in the players. And look, let's just be honest. Prior to Arteta coming, this is actually kind of the things we were all clamoring for.
Yeah,
Put players in there that don't play favorites. Play who you think builds a winning squad for you. And it feels like that's where he's at right now.
Yeah, inches. We talked, Paul, last time you were here. Decisions and inches, and going for that extra inch. And as a manager, when you make a massive decision like this, because goalkeeper in the Premier League, that's a high pressure position. Get my peas all peed up. Do you, as a manager, do you like pat yourself on the back? Is it just part of your process? Like all along, he's known what he's wanted to do. He's hunted Raya for a while, but when it comes off, and you've been criticized for it, do you light the cigar and drink the whiskey at night, and put your feet up on the coffee table? Is that how it feels?
I wish. No, you're thinking about the next game. I don't think it's a big deal to him. I think he's there to do a job. And I think you've got a top manager that is looking at it 24/7. And I would imagine that trip away, he'd have learnt loads about the team. He'd have studied it. He'd be looking to see why we're not winning the league. Where are we missing out? And in pre-season, what do we need? Looking at it with the analysis now. I mean, look what you delivered, right? You're pinpointing details as a manager. And he's probably seen that, okay, Raya and Ramsdale, both able to execute the same ball, but maybe Raya sees it quicker. Maybe he sees it faster. Maybe there it is. And I would imagine he's broke it down. He's the analysis guys. He's in his office looking at, we should have gone there faster. I'm just, what you do as a manager when you're trying to improve, right? And albeit in League Two, of course, it's not Premier League, but it's the same thing. It's the same challenges you have when you're trying to evolve or change. And I had it when we got promoted from the conference to the League Two. I had a team that was excellent, right, in the conference. Got us out. We went direct. Made no excuses for that, and it worked. We got to League Two, and the standard was better. There's no two ways about it. So I had a decision to make then. What do I do? Just keep doing the same and struggling, and none of that's change. And I made changes. And I remember at Torquay, I had to, and I love these players. Absolutely, to this day, I love them. They do understand it now because they're coaches and managers. They didn't at the time. I got rid of probably 4 or 5 that were like key players, but I needed to change it because we were changing to keep the ball more. And I'd identified players that could do that because that was our chosen style of play. So, and it did come off, and it come off for the guys that, moved on because, they needed to move on, but they're the decisions you make. But I didn't, I was absolutely fine with going in a fans forum. You shout at me all you want. At the end of the day, I'm going to live and die by the sword. It's on, and the proof's in the pudding, as you said. You'd have to say now that Raya has, that Mikel has made a brave call, but maybe that's what it's going to need for Arsenal to win the title, which I think you will. So, I've said that to you for a while.
I know I do this when I get your text. I'm like, la, 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 la.
I know you do. But and the other thing that the Arsenal have got right now is the killer. So they get the goal, they go for the next one and the next one. And it's unrelenting. And there's this desire to not allow the opposition. The counter press is unbelievable. The hunger, against Sheffield United, you saw it. It was incredible, to just keep going and keep going. And I think that's a real good sign for the Arsenal fans with that mentality, and I don't see Arteta getting tired. And I think he's driving them now, and you're seeing we always say, that the team reflects the manager. Well, I think they're now reflecting him in every area, with and without the ball. They lose it. They've got a real hunger to get it back immediately. So, I think going back to the goalkeeping thing, I think he's got to just get the fundamentals right. Mike said it. He hasn't got to do anything weird and wonderful. Ramsdale, he's just got to. If you've been training right, like he would have been, that will come out in the game. He'll get into the warm up. He'll get a great reception, and he's done it before. He's not a novice, so it's a terrible problem to have for Mikel, having to put Ramsdale in. What a terrible decision.
Paul probably wishes at some point he had two goalkeepers like that to depend on it every time.
Yeah. No, great points, Paul. And this is like Mike said, we've been craving for years. And thanks, Kimmo FC, for loaning us your pictures as well. We absolutely love them. We've been craving to have plays like this for years, to have a defensive partnership like this, for players like Kivior to come in and surprise us with his kind of tenacious performances against teams like Newcastle, Trossard, who a lot of fans poo-pooed the signing when they wanted Mudryk. And the emergence and the continual evolution of a player like Saka to come out, which has won Mikel Arteta Manager of the Month. Here he is with his whole team. And he likes to always get his picture taken with his entire coaching staff. Ange Postecoglou didn't win this one, Mike, for his nice football, like the London Football Awards, which everyone, even Tottenham fans were like, what? Mikel Arteta goes into this as Manager of the Month. He's laser focused. Rebecca was telling us when she was on with, I was telling everyone yesterday, she's spoken to Mikel a few times now, and his intensity. And she was saying that when he makes his list of things to do, it's 1 Arsenal, 2 Arsenal, 3 Arsenal, 4 the wife. And, again, we've been wanting to have an intense manager like that, like Pep, like Klopp, like the good days of Antonio Conte, Simeone, those types of managers. Rumblings again that the Spanish football trying to stir things up. Mikel's going nowhere. This project is something he wants to take from progress to success. He's the man of the moment. And even without winning anything, his market value is super, super high right now. I said that if he wins the Champions League, I would put that up there with 89 and the Invincibles. If he wins the Premier League in the era of Klopp and the Manchester City money and the 115 alleged charges, it would also be an incredible achievement. Should he pull it off, where do you rank it in the Arsenal history? And then we'll get to some questions, you guys, before we let the boys out.
I still think it has to be. Look, first of all, he deserves a lot of credit for the cultural change that he brought. And we've talked before, Sophie, about what we all felt was going on in the last few years of the Wenger era. And it's not a disrespect to Arsene Wenger. It was the game had changed. And sometimes we are so we are so married to our ways that we never change ourselves, right? And Emery just never felt like I'm happy that Emery seems to have found some place that he fits, like Aston Villa, because I don't think he was a bad coach. I just didn't think he was right for Arsenal. But there were other cultural things that Arteta came in and affected. And you have to acknowledge what he has done and how people feel about Arsenal again right now. We joke that all the abuse we get from some pundits and stuff like that is because we're back. Well, we are back. And Arteta brought that back. And though I still think it's going to have to be a period of sustained success before you put him on the pantheon of even Arsene Wenger. I saw some people. So there was a question floating around social media the other day: is if he wins the Champions League, is he on the same level as Arsene Wenger? I want the Champions League as a title for us, but I don't know that it puts him on that level yet. It's got to be sustained. But he is a good coach. He is a phenomenal coach, and he is the right coach to do what this team and this club needed at that time. I think it also, one thing that most people I don't know if many people knew this, but he was a candidate before Emery. And I think he actually
was.
He said in an interview in Spain that he turned down the job because he felt he wasn't ready, right?
Yeah.
He felt he still had more to do. I think he's ready. I think he's going to take this club to winning things, and it's going to be a sustained period of success for the team. And after that, we will probably be putting him on a very big pedestal. But it's got to happen first, right? It's got to happen.
It sure does. It sure does. And Paul, you know, you've been in those moments where you've got a great team, but sometimes you're just beaten by better teams, and even sometimes by more experienced managers. Arteta has to win one of the big ones to gain the respect, and for Arsenal to gain the respect. Do you agree?
I do. I do, because the challenges now of being a manager in any division are there for all to see. You know, no one's really going to give you time. I think don't underestimate. I think I said this before, so excuse me if I'm repeating myself, Squad, is that going from a coach to a manager, it's not always easy. You can be a great coach, right, and be by the bed. Doesn't mean you're going to be a great manager. If you've never chose staff, if you've never chose systems of play, you know, your experiences are going to come on the job, right, in your first job, in your early days. So maybe Mikel has made the mistakes, like we all do, but maybe he had some good thinking time on that trip. Maybe he's found it now, is it, you know, because before, you know, the changing of the team, double pivot, right? They're the things that in your first, you've never done it before, right? You've always been alongside the head coach, right? You know, so you haven't got anything to fall back on, right, in that first job, in them early experiences, right? So I think this would be an incredible achievement, given you know, his short time he's had in management. Because as I say, I can't repeat enough, it's a completely different animal to being an assistant. And their assistance is really important. We spoke about it before. Your staff's important. The people around him are going to be really important, right? He's only going to get better. He's only going to get better. And if Arsenal do it, I honestly believe they will take some stopping, because this is not an easy title to win right now. This is, you know, and you're seeing teams, look at Liverpool. Don't tell me that Pep and him weren't looking at that in the 99th minute, right? Thinking they've dropped 2 points. They was. I don't, you know, people say, oh, of course you're looking. Of course you're, you know, oh, that, you know, what's the score? You can hear it, 0-0, and then all of a sudden, bang, goal. You've got to then respond again. You have to come back out. And this Arsenal are doing that. And they've got continuity. I think he's finding himself as a head coach. And I think we're seeing that now in the performances. And when you get it, when you do get it, you get that momentum, which we've seen with, you know, Pep, you know, Klopp. You know, how much longer is Pep going to be there? Manchester City are going to have their problems, right? Who's going to replace him? You know, there's no guarantees at Liverpool with Klopp going on. Someone can follow. I think this is the start of something for Arsenal. I really do.
Yeah, it feels like it. Okay, some quick questions, quick fire responses from you guys. Tim, I love this. A great way to gauge it. How would you feel if he walked out tomorrow, Mike?
I'd be heartbroken. Just because of what the feeling that we have at the club right now, just across the board, is fantastic. I mean, you hear it in the stadium, you hear it even with the negativity that social media promotes. You still see it on social media as well. So yeah, absolutely, it would be painful if he left.
Paul, you can answer this one with the Euros coming up. If you were Gareth Southgate, would you give Ramsdale more time in goal for England and not Pickford?
Sure. What a question that is. It is a great question. I wouldn't move Pickford right now. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to find that time to give them. I mean, that's the conundrum as a manager. It's really difficult when you've got good players in one position, you know, it's hard to keep them happy. It's hard to know when to change it or not to change it. And yeah, it's you know, I think in professional sport, these guys are paid not just to be on the field, but to, you know, when they're not in the team for whatever reason, to be professional and you know, and show them their teammates that they're all in with the project. It's not just about them. But yeah, I would probably stick with Pickford for now.
One for you from Demsec, Mike. If Ramsdale leaves, who would you look to sign as a number 2 goalkeeper? I had this on and I just thought, you know what, this is a much bigger conversation, but it's a big conundrum.
I don't know the who. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know the who, but I think what you need, if Ramsdale were to leave, I want to kind of go back to the year that we had Leno and Ramsdale. I think one of the reasons why Ramsdale was so outstanding that year is because he had a goalkeeper behind him who was good enough to be a starter and pushed him in training, right? I think, and this is something that Arteta was actually very open about. He said, I want to create tension. There's a tension that can exist through the competitiveness of fighting for a spot. And he wants that all across every position. So you want that even at the goalkeeper. And so it's got to be somebody that's going to probably be comfortable at least being a number 2, but being strong enough that they can push Raya, that they know if Raya were to make a mistake, that he could get into the squad.
Right. Here's one from competitive. We've wanted that across every position. I think the remaining position, really, the Saka position, needs, you know, as good as he is, you know, we need better cover there and we need more competition. Look what it's done to Martinelli. When Trossard come, it lit a fire up his ass, you know, and it totally changed things. Paul, the 6-second rule, how do we fix it? Seb thinks it's getting out of hand.
What this? You say the 6-second rule?
For the goalkeepers?
For the goalkeepers, yeah. I think that's what he means, yeah.
With the rule changing, it's difficult even for me to keep up. You know, with what's going on. Ridiculous, really. Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
It is. It's totally crazy, isn't it? Yes. Well, brilliant. I think that's all we've got time for today. Although Lynn will not be happy with me, Paul, if I don't ask you this. And a lot of the squaddies have really admired Luton Town, your former club, this season. It's really tough to go to Kenilworth Road. I won't say out loud what I think it is, because Luton Town fans aren't very nice people. I have no sympathy for them, but the manager's doing an amazing job. That place is an utter rhymes with lump. I'll just say it's a dump, but it's their dump and it's a beautiful dump and it's a tough place to go. And if you were old enough like me and Mike and maybe Paul, you would remember the AstroTurf there. But to answer Lynn's question, what do you think? Did you? Oh, man.
Yeah, I've played on it. I think Luton have been incredible this season. Nobody gave Luton a chance, really, did they? You know, and you know they might be able to do the Arsenal a few favours. You know, it's been a difficult place to go, and try, you know, for teams to go and try and get something at Kenilworth Road. But one thing I would say is just don't take Mark Flecken, please. If Aaron decides to go, please. Just, I mean, Mark, you know, coming in, big shoes to fill. You know, David going, it's settled now, and he's going to need to have a worldie tomorrow. I think. So yeah.
What do you think about tomorrow, Paul? Well, how do you see it? And you know what, Natalie was saying the same thing about Flecken as well. It's funny, but yeah. How do you see the game going tomorrow? Let's get your prediction from both of you. With your Brentford sweater on, look at him turning up here with his Brentford sweat, with his trackie.
Yeah, I'm going to let my heart rule my head always when it comes to Brentford. We'll have a go. And they'll be organised. We've got a top manager as well in Thomas Frank, so we'll be ready and prepared. There'll be a plan. You know, I don't think we'll be easy to break down. The problem just comes with Arsenal getting the first goal, like any top team. Then it's the pitch has to open up, more risk come, more gaps. I don't see anyone stopping Arsenal right now. I mean, I really don't. Tell me where there's where you can expose and tell me where the weakness is. I've already spoken about this hunger and desire, and I said the killer in it. But it is, when you start to get that in a team, you know, with and without the ball, both sides of the game, it's very difficult to play against. And as a manager, you know, you can't wait for the next game. And I don't think Arsenal will look at any opposition any different, really. You know, I think they go out to win. They're playing a great style of play, and the speed of play has been the bit. But, you know, Mike touched on it. The accuracy of the passing. I think some of the players, maybe the wide players that sometimes can let you down with the ball, you know, they're not as precise as someone like Rice would be. I think they've been really good at shifting it. You know, if it's not on to go and take people on, shifting it out the other way, and you just, I mean, if you're facing Arsenal at the moment, you know, you don't know if they're going to come through the middle of you or on the outsides. So, yeah, I do think Arsenal will get the win.
Mike, I always like to go into these games cautious. I did with Sheffield United. I refused to get caught up in Paul's texts to me. But then once the fourth goal went in, I was like, fine, yes, everything's all right. Mike, how do you see tomorrow going?
I keep wondering when. I'm like, pinch me. The results have been fantastic. It's been fantastic, and I'm like, it's got to end sometime, right? I generally like Thomas Frank as a coach. I think he organizes his team well. He coaches, his philosophy is good. I actually really, this is not to say he should leave Brentford, but I actually would like to see what happens if he gets a bigger opportunity. I do think that he's a well thought out coach and the way he sets his team up. So I'm thinking that this is we probably don't see a 4-5-6-0 game. I'm going 3-1 for tomorrow. Just because I think we're going to be going up against a welcome. But here's the thing: I thought the same thing against the last game against West Ham. I didn't expect West Ham to lose 6-0 to us.
Payback. So, there's a lot of revenge going on this season, Mike. Yeah, there's a lot of revenge, and maybe Brentford deserve a little bit, considering what happened last season. I'll just leave it at that, shall I?
Look, I still think we're at home, and home has been a really good place for us.
Yeah.
So we're coming out with the win, but I'm gonna say that maybe we're not as strong as we have been. Just because
Fair enough.
It can't go
Hey, sorry to interrupt, guys. I hope if Arsenal win the league, which I think you will, that you'll ping out some type of shirt where it's half Brentford.
We don't do half and half shit here. But thanks for the tip, Paul. Thanks for the tip. Love it. Absolutely love it. Brilliant show. Thank you both for joining me. It's been brilliant. You can follow Mike at You Are My Arsenal. Please go do that. And you can follow Paul_Buckle on Instagram as well. Again, happy International Women's Day. Something special for you coming on Monday, a brand new show hosted by Magic Mike. It's a one-on-one conversation. He'll be doing it at Highbury, actually. And his first guest from Highbury to the Grove, a nice series where we get stuck into like football conversations in the spirit of Highbury Squad, is Amy Lawrence. You're not going to want to miss that. 6:00 UK time, live here on Highbury Squad, a brand new series hosted by Magic Mike from Highbury to the Grove with the great Amy Lawrence. You're not going to want to miss that. And then Monday Madness will be back a little bit later after the football as well. And I just wanted to put this up as well because you know our community here is full of love and stuff. Tim, great show. I'm sorry you lost your mum. There's a lot of stuff going on right now and I've had a tremendous amount of letters and emails from people going through a hard time. Used to go with her to Highbury in the 70s. Wonderful memories. George Armstrong, what a legend. And I don't know if you know, but Jill Armstrong is a really huge friend of the show. And we will let her know that you loved her dad and we're sorry for your loss. Stay here with us. Keep smiling. The squaddies will keep you smiling. It's not an easy situation to be going through. But as you know, the Highbury Squad is always here to keep everyone company that's going through a difficult time. Enjoy the football this week, everybody. Hopefully it's another win. I'll be back on Monday. And don't forget the show with Mike at 6:00 on Monday. Yeah, I almost forgot myself. Paul, Mike, thanks so much. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everyone. And as Super Kev will say, tell your loved ones you love them. At ease, squaddies, at ease.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.